Hello and welcome everyone to GridVision. We sure are excited to be here this lovely Friday night as we're going to be covering some eNASCAR iRacing Series top split competition at one of my favorite racetracks, Michigan International Speedway. This 2-mile racetrack has been nothing but exciting all week long. We've been seeing 3 wide, 4 wide, sometimes 5 wide here at this racetrack. I'm telling you, it's going to be packed racing. It's in between a super speedway and pretty much a mile and a half. There's going to be a little bit of tire wear, but for the most part, just high action. Brian Britt, of course, Austin Edstrom is my co-commentator here. Of course, Austin Derbyshire down behind the cameras. How you doing tonight, Austin?
I'm doing pretty good because I'm not sitting behind the wheel of one of these things. Getting behind the wheel this week has been super frustrating. You know, you mentioned how exciting the racing's been, but from behind the wheel, it is nothing but frustrating. So I'm really happy to be in the booth tonight and getting to watch these guys put on a show instead of being a part of the wreck fest that I think I'm about to watch.
Yeah, definitely it's been somewhat calamity on the racetrack. I mean, it's just been it's so hard to predict what line these guys are going to be running here at this track. Of course, 94 degrees is the track temp around Michigan at the moment. So not too hot, not too cool at the same time, though. Pretty hot for Michigan, I'd say. Balmy 78 degrees ambient at the moment. Of course, winds about 6 miles an hour. That can have some effect here in Michigan, considering how big this racetrack is. Let's take a look at the iRacing or NASCAR iRacing Series top split points right now. Nicholas Broman at the top of the board with Garrett Maines sits in second place. Of course, Joseph is in third at the moment. Chris Wilhite sits fourth. Joshua Watson in fifth. Alex Murray in sixth place. Matt Hollenbach in seventh. Eighth place, Ryan Carwile. Ninth, Justin Levine. 10th, Maurice Glazier. 11th place, Andrew Kotska. 12th, Andrew Miller. Of course, that is the top 12 right now. And I do believe the points at the moment in this official iRacing Series. We appreciate you all joining us here. So we're going to actually take a quick look at the rest of the schedule for this week. As of course, we had earlier in the week, Tuesday Champion Power Equipment competition. Actually, I do believe this is actually next week's schedule. So, of course, this Sunday, we're going to be at Michigan in the Global Racing Truck Series, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This Tuesday, we're going to be going Champion Power Equipment Racing at Kansas. That'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, Wednesday, Thunderclap iRacing presented by TLC will be in action 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That'll be at Darlington Raceway, and I have a feeling that is going to be a good race. We saw a really awesome race at Dover. Friday, of course, next Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be at the Indianapolis Road Course. We're going to be going road course racing at that very, very difficult racetrack. And, of course, on Sunday, I do believe, I think they're probably going to be going to IRP, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be some short track action at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on that day. And so busy week next week, that's for sure. Definitely excited for, as we have a little bit under 2 minutes left in qualifying. You talked about some of the racing here tonight, Austin, about, this week. I mean, you've done some racing. What has been the tricky spots? Like, what has been the problem you think that has caused so many wrecks?
So I wouldn't really say it's like a problem spot on the racetrack. In all seriousness, the racing this week has been pretty straightforward in the sense of like just getting into the corners, not very difficult. Getting out of the corners, not very difficult by yourself. Some people will get a little loose in the center of the corner, but it's really just a modified pack race, and I've never had so many times in one race where somebody would pull right in the middle of the corner to block my run at a track that's not Talladega or Daytona. But it was happening to me non-stop in the race that I ran on Wednesday, and I was getting really, really frustrated. I think you're going to see a lot more of that, especially towards the front of the field tonight, because this is such a big, high-profile race for the week. And there's going to be a lot of people really, really, really frustrated at the end of this race. Only one guy is going to walk out of here happy. Everybody else is going to be pissed off.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the facts of the race. Of course, 100 laps here in this evening's race. Of course, 50 laps is about, I do believe, the fuel window, to give or take, depending on what gear ratio you're running as well. So definitely going to be interested to see how that goes. I do believe we have 4 sets of tires for these guys to play around with. And so that's going to be, I think tires are going to be somewhat important, but not near as important as what they probably have been in races here past. I do believe the current tire model really, you could stay out. If you stay out for 10 laps or race for 10 laps, caution comes out, half the field's going to come down pit road, half the field's going to stay out. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think that that's a fair shout. I do think that there could be a little bit of tire strategy towards the end of this race. Maybe someone will try to have a set left or play some strategy where they pit just to gain a lot of positions, maybe from the back of the pack. But I don't really see anybody running through a 35 car field in 10 laps on fresh tires compared to maybe 10 lap old tires. But the fuel window is about 48 laps, so you will have to pit more than once if it does stay green the entire time, unless you do a really good job saving. With the draft being so heavy, that's definitely possible, but I really don't see this thing going green all the way through.
It does look like we have the actual starting running order here, I do believe. So Anthony Federico grabs a pole here with a 38.015, very fast qualifying time. Sean Conklin going to be starting in second place. Paul Bergoli in third place. Richard Garcia starts fourth. Fifth place, Nicholas Vroman, our points leader right now. Sixth place, Daniel Nanny. Seventh place, Brandon Bikey. Eighth place, Chris Wilhite. Ninth place, Derek Lemke. And rounding out the top 10 is Brad Newman.
Row 6 is going to be headed up by Joshua Watson. 12th place, Lawrence Shaughnessy. 13th, Michael McLean. 14th, Brooks Dirting. 15th, Spence Thompson. 16th, Johnny Baldridge. 17th, Justin Levine. 18th, Miller Bonds. 19th, J.R. Borborema. 20th, Latoro Lamperti III.
Of course, 21st, Jeffrey Marble. 22nd, John Whitendorf. 23rd, Edward Shearer Jr. 24th, Brian Smith. 25th, Brian Young. 26th, Will Cannon. 27th, Keith Brigman. 28th, Joshua Gathright. 29th, Joseph. 30th, Tyler Marble.
31st, Spencer Burns. 32nd, Maggie McGuire. 33rd, Jacob Klein. 34th, Alan Pajari. And 35th, at the back of the field, Ty Ippolito.
Yeah, that 35 cars out here, I think that's going to lend to the more of a probability of us having even, some cautions here. That's definitely for sure. This is going to be nuts. I have no doubts that these guys are probably going to end up having some issues early in the race. We'll have to see how that all kind of plays out here. But I'm excited. I think this is going to be an entertaining race. I think these guys are going to put their all into it. And I think they also want to get that glory. Since we started kind of calling these races, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if the aggressiveness has gone up, considering they're being broadcasted.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. I think that this race is just going to be balls to the wall aggressive the entire way through. Coming off these corners, it's really important to have that high lane coming off so you can get that big draft down the entire front stretch, the entire back stretch. So everybody's really going to be fighting for that, and you're going to see a lot of people just trying to clear themselves off the corner whenever they may not be completely clear. It might be cutting off some people's noses pretty hard throughout the entire event. So I'm really interested to just kind of see, will people take it a little easy towards the beginning? I don't know. I think the people, especially mid-pack, are really just going to try to fight to get to the front, because it's probably going to be like a normal super speedway race where you really want to be towards the front to maybe avoid the wrecks. So you could see a lot of aggression mid-pack, and it's just, if you get stuck on that inside line coming off a corner, you're just going to get freight trained and lose so many spots. It's like Pocono was, but even worse. So I don't know. It's going to be really, really tough for all these drivers out here tonight.
Yeah, some cars are going to be able to, really wrap the bottom a lot better than others. Some drivers are going to be able to run the top. Of course, top line is going to be really able to get the runs off exit for sure. And of course, you're going to really want to work together in a lot of regards. So I think teammates are going to really be important at this racetrack here as we wait for the pace cars getting ready to take that left turn down pit road. As of course, Anthony Federico, definitely a very good qualifying effort for him. Of course, qualifying at this racetrack this week has been very, very close when it comes to lap times. And there goes the pace car taking that left turn as we come up to the front stretch here at Michigan International Speedway. Federico enters the Geico restart zone, and the green flag is out for the first time here at Michigan. And fairly good restart there, or start, should I say, for Federico and Conklin. Conklin really able to time that launch perfectly. Top line, I think, might have the advantage here into turn one.
Yeah, Conklin had a great push there from the fourth place car. I believe that was Richard Garcia. Great job from the 22 machine, but Anthony Federico does pull up into that spot, second place. So the front is just kind of single filed out a little bit. Paul Bergoli is going to be that first car on the inside line, and he's even getting left out by Nicholas Vroman, but somebody gets to his outside, and Vroman has to go to the bottom two in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, Paul Bergoli sending it in very deep into 3 and 4 so we complete lap number 1. Sean Conklin is going to lead the first lap here. As You can also see Nicholas Broman, our points leader, trying to work his way forward. He's now up into 5th right now on the bottom side. Of course, it seems like a lot of drivers trying to get clean air through the corners. I think that's going to be the most valuable thing, is trying to get clean air, but also on the straightaways, utilizing the draft.
And you can see, like, kind of on these newer tires, the bottom lane can kind of hold steady. They get a really, really good run through the center of the corner where they can gain a lot of time. But as soon as they get onto that back stretch and, you know, Paul Bergoli's stuck on the inside, doesn't have any help, he just kind of loses a little bit of momentum. Even with the side draft all the way down, he just loses some momentum, but he's going to be able to find a home there in 3rd place on the top side there.
Yeah, just barely able to squeeze up in front of Richard Garcia. We're going to see a lot of that here tonight. A lot of guys making moves on the bottom, trying to just find a parking space at the bottom. Look at the send from Nicholas Broman on the entry. Is he going to be able to keep it down? It looks like he will. I think he's going to lose a little bit of speed on exit, but no, he's actually able to keep a lot of that momentum. And it looks like Paul Bergoli thinking about diving out. But it looks like Broman is going to fall back behind, maybe to 30. Or should I say Daniel Nanning into 3. Here comes Broman 3 wide with the 22 of Richard Garcia in the middle. Paul Bergoli really close to the wall, still 3 wide for the 3rd position. Also now fighting for the lead. Here comes Anthony Federico, trying to see if he can't possibly capture the lead from Sean Conklin.
Ooh, Conklin gets a little bump into turn 1 from Paul Bergoli. He's able to save it though, no harm, no fouling, but that's going to give Anthony Federico the lead. You can tell it's just so hard for a car to peek out and make a move on the bottom, be able to find a home back as soon as they get back on the straightaway. Saw Broman kind of lose a spot, but he was able to get it back. He's up to 4th place. But yeah, Anthony Federico did a great job getting to the bottom there. Push from the 3rd place car. Paul Bergoli was maybe just a little bit too heavy for Sean Conklin to handle heading into the corner, and it cost him just a little bit of time, but everybody's all right. Is they're just about 4 wide back there for about 8th or 9th place.
Yeah, I tell you, I'd be terrified if I was sitting in Justin Levine's shoes right now, as they were almost 4 wide. As you see Lawrence Shaughnessy really giving a big push there to the 7 of Brad Newman. So a lot of battling going on, a lot of guys really trying desperately to get themselves some track position. You can clearly see that as you see Justin Levine gives a big push to the back end of Shaughnessy. A lot of guys just fighting so hard. Of course, tire wear fairly non-existent right now. Anthony Federico, last time by, turned his fastest lap of the race, 38.736.
There's only really one move in the arsenal that's like a no-loss situation that I feel like these drivers have tonight, and that's really just driving into the corner way deeper than the guy in front of you, but getting to their outside, because you can kind of see that from the front line, Paul Bergoli does a pretty good job kind of showing the line right there, going into the corner. He kind of looked to the outside, but he just didn't have the run. But you really just want to try to get to the outside of the guy in front of you through the middle of the corner. Kind of, it might take a checkup at the end of the straightaway from the guy in front of you, but if you can get your car to their outside in the middle of the corner, it's an absolute done deal pass. You've done your job. But going to the inside instead, it's just such a, I don't know, it's such a high risk move, and honestly, I think low reward. You're really only ever going to get one spot out of that, but more times than not, you're just going to be stuck side by side, getting side drafted all the way down the front stretch.
And you see Richard Garcia just able to somehow get out in front of Chris Woolhite, of course, in the 2. He is cosmetically the 7, but he, of course, is the 2 in sim. Richard Garcia definitely very, I'd say, aggressive. Woolhite now jumps down below the 22. Woolhite's going to see if he can't work his way up into the top 5. Now side by side, I do believe, with Daniel Nanny. He's going to make a big move now side by side with Roman. He's going to just barely be able to fit himself in. There comes Nanny, going to cross him over. So what's interesting about this, there are a lot of Ryko drivers that are up here in the top 10. And you would expect them to be working together, but because of the nature of this racetrack, it's so difficult to work together. I mean, it's not necessarily Talladega or Daytona to where you're just pushing the guy in front of you. I mean, these guys almost have to take these runs.
Yeah, you did a great job of mentioning the difference between Talladega, right? At Talladega or Daytona, you can really just kind of pick a lane and shove your teammate through it. Here, you can't get 4 people lined up on the bottom on the same team and make it work. It's just absolutely impossible. You'll still get freight trained by that big, long line on the outside. So for the Ryko guys, it does take away a little bit of their advantage. But I do think that if they could get 2, 3, or 4 guys lined up on the outside for the lead, it would be so difficult to take that back from any of them, because they will not leave that that outside line to kind of challenge each other. So I think the entire field is just thinking, okay, let's not let Ryko get 1, 2, 3 up on the outside line. But they do have about 3 or 4 cars in the top 6 right here that are trying to make that happen.
100%. Of course, Paul Bergoli now being challenged by Nicholas Roman. Roman trying to get up to the 3rd position. Roman has been almost unstoppable all season long. He has just shown such great speed, and I've been so impressed with that one machine. Of course, he is the highest iRating driver in here at the moment. And keep in mind, this is a 5,000 strength of field race, so there are just the whole field is talented. There is not a single person out here that does not deserve to be here. It looks like Paul Bergoli getting a little bit tight up on the wall. Now side by side with Nanny for that 4th place position. Also a little bit further back, I do believe we have the 7 of Brad Newman trying to battle his way up. He is right now, I do believe, side by side with Garcia. Actually, yeah, that's Wolfite.
Paul Bergoli tried making that move that I talked about going into turn 1, where you just kind of stick your car on the other, on the car in front of you's outside, going into the corner, just driving in really deep. But he might have overstepped the cushion just a little bit. It looked like he got really tight through the entry to the center of the corner and just wasn't able to make it work. He's still trying to find that outside line here, though, going into turn 1. Not going to be able to get to Broman's outside, but it looks like Broman's going to be able to get to Sean's. Not quite. It looks like he cuts his nose off just off the corner, but he's going to give a big push to his teammate here. He's not actually going to peek out to make a move. Just stays quiet in line. No big shakeups from the front couple, but Paul Bergoli is still just kind of showing his right front to Nicholas Roman, like, hey, I might just take you on the outside here at any moment.
Yeah, of course, it would be a risky maneuver, I'd say. But, I mean, if he can get his nose up there, it could definitely be something that could help him, as he is now getting challenged from Nanny. Nanny coming to the inside here, a little bit of side ramp into turn 1. He shoots it down really deep, 3 wide almost for the lead, as Federico now getting challenged by Conklin, and Broman's on the inside.
And Nanny's actually able to make that move stick on Paul Bergoli. He was able to find a hole, but that's going to stick Nicholas Roman out by himself on the bottom, and Paul can kind of hold his right rear. Actually, it looks like Nanny might give him a little bit of a spot to get in. He does. That might have been a little bit of teamwork there, but Sean Conklin gets the lead coming off of turn 2, and we kind of see a Ryko shakeup towards the front. They've got 3 of the top 4 positions, and Paul Bergoli's falling backwards.
Yeah, also Federico has lost the lead, so I'm sure definitely very happy about that. I'm watching a big battle there between Brandon Bikey and Joshua Watson back in 9th place. Watson making some big moves further back here. Of course, Joshua Watson, I do believe, is in the top 10 in points. He's definitely been looking very impressive all season long so far. Also, you see Michael McLean battling with Edward Schurer Jr. back in the 11th spot. So we're seeing a lot of battling still, and I don't think it's going to be over anytime soon, but I think we're getting to that point to where a lot of cars are going to start struggling if maybe they aren't as good on the longer runs.
Yeah, you can start seeing tire wear coming into it a little bit as the runs go on. It just takes a really long time with how much drag these cars have on them. You know, it just keeps everybody punched up a good bit. There's so much drag. The draft is so heavy that even if you wear your tires out a little bit too much, you can just kind of stay with the pack. But, I mean, if you absolutely kill them, then you are going to start going backwards and not be able to hold on with the rest of these guys. The front end just gets really tight if you start driving it in too deep. We started seeing Anthony Federico really kind of... Big wreck in the middle of the pack. Brandon Bikey's in it. Paul Bergoli's going around. Michael McLean's through the grass. A good 5, 6, 7 cars involved in that pile up towards about 8th or 9th place coming off of turn 4.
That was a huge wreck involving, I do believe, I think the epicenter of this accident, what kind of led to it, would I say, be around Brad Newman. I'd keep an eye on the 7 when we go back and take a look at the replay, but that was a catastrophic wreck. It just happened all of a sudden, too. I mean, it was so... I mean, there was no way we could predict that. That was just broke out all of a sudden. And of course, we made it 15 laps green. Man, that was nuts.
Yeah, that's going to junk a lot of good cars. I mean, I think a lot of them are going to be able to get some damage repair, but it just looked like Paul Bergoli and Brad Newman were 3 wide. They didn't really get pinched from Will Hyde on the outside, but Paul came down just ever so slightly, and they made a little bit of door contact through the center of the corner. Maybe Brad could have been a little bit lower. You know, the actual line for the bottom car is really that bottom seam, so he definitely could have been about half a lane lower here, but Paul came down a little bit, made some contact, and then Paul's just kind of out of control after the first contact and kind of keeps it coming down. You see hoods flying off, bumpers flying off everywhere. Johnny Baldridge goes hard into the pit wall. My goodness, that 417. But
yeah, he's done for the day. Baldridge, I mean, that was a violent crash. We're definitely going to have to take another look. I think we had a little bit of a blind spot there. I wonder if we can even slow this crash down. I mean, because it definitely looked like maybe Bergoli might have came down, they met in the middle, whichever one. Newman, I definitely want to get to the bottom of what happened here. As you see right there, 4 wide almost. Joshua Watson was right behind us. Unfortunately, he had major damage as well. I think the contact slowed down the 7. The contact with Paul Bergoli, I don't think necessarily would have led to the crash, or would have crashed. They wouldn't have crashed on their own because of that. I do believe Joshua Watson got into the rear of the 7, which kind of caused the real accident. But of course, dominoes fell with the contact from Bergoli and Newman here. You see Bergoli gets a little bit loose, comes down into the 7, and of course that slows the 7 down enough for Joshua Watson to get into the back of the 7 there of Newman.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that too much on Watson. Like you said, it just kind of all shook out in front of him, and he really didn't have anywhere to go himself. Brad did a good job saving it off the bat. If Joshua Watson wasn't there, it would have been a great save, and everybody probably would have been all right. But I wouldn't really put that on Watson. He was 3 wide himself, trying to give the guys on his outside room. But yeah, he took a hard lick in the outside wall. Brandon Bikey took a hard lick with them. Justin Levine had some right front damage whenever he hit McLean after he came down the racetrack. I mean, I said 7 or 8 cars got involved, but it really might have been closer to 11 or 12.
Yeah, it was a lot of cars. I mean, that was carnage. I haven't seen carnage like that in quite a while. I mean, that was definitely just a crazy crash that took out a lot of cars. I mean, Brandon Bikey, like you said, I feel really bad for him because he just was in the midst of. There was nothing. There's no way you can react to things like that going out so fast. I mean, these guys are going almost 200 mile an hour, 180. I know right out of the corner, they're usually about 180 mile an hour. But when something like that goes bad that fast, there's nothing you can really do to avoid it when you're already right there.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon was up against the wall. If you actually look in his cockpit, I mean, he had no idea that was even coming, right? Like, there's basically no tell from Brandon Bike that was happening until he gets, I mean, just about door slammed into the fence, right? I mean, he could not tell until the last second, and then all of a sudden, he's just done for the race. He's just done.
I don't last second. I'd say last millisecond. I mean, that was a microsecond right there that he had to react. But looks like we are getting ready to go back green, and the whole complexion of this race has completely changed. There's a lot of drivers that are completely done, I do believe, after that. I mean, that was a huge incident that took off a lot of people's race car parts, that's for sure. But if Sean Conklin, he's in control right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking through the field to see who still has damage. Kind of looks like Brandon Bikey and Joshua Watson are both still in the pit, so I'd imagine they're probably done for the day. Kind of looking through the field. Let's see if anybody else has gotten theirs fixed. Paul Bergoli has pretty massive front end damage. Even if he's tried to fix it, I don't think that he's going to be able to get it all the way fixed up. Jeffrey Marble has some pretty massive right front. Edward Schurrer Jr. looks like he might be all right. Michael McLean is missing his entire hood and right front fender, so I think he's going to be done. Brooks Darting had some front end damage, but he's got it fixed, and Levine also fixed his. So maybe not too many cars taken out, but we're about to have the restart right now.
That's right. Sean Conklin going to be getting the green flag up through the gears. Really good start there from Conklin. He really jumped it quite a bit. I mean, of course, you're able to do that, but I wouldn't necessarily want to do that at a track like this because this is going to allow Roman and the rest of the field to really draft back up as he's side by side for 3rd place. Federico trying to battle with Will Height. Of course, Danny is behind Federico. And Newman, even though he kind of was the epicenter of that whole crash, and I'm not saying it was his fault at all, but he's completely fine. He's got to be feeling really lucky right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime that you're sideways in the middle of the corner and 12 cars die, but you happen to stay in the top 10, you get pretty lucky. So a heck of a job from him being able to save it in the way he did. Just sucks that everybody else kind of got involved in it. But again, it wasn't anything really on him, I don't think. Just hard racing in the middle of the corner where 2 people happen to door each other. But we got some hard racing back in the back. They're 3 wide for about 20th. But up front for the lead, like you said, Conklin might have gotten a little bit too big of a restart. Nicholas Roman's going to take him on the inside. Oh, he's not quite clear. He gets loose. Nicholas Roman's going sideways, exiting turn 2. Great save from Nicholas Roman. His teammate keeps it straight, but he's going to drop all the way back into the mid-20s.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for Roman. He is now dropping back, outside of the top 20 now. I think he's still going to be able to keep the draft, but it's going to be very difficult for him to work his way forward here. As you see another car slow on the bottom.
And that actually slowed up his teammate Conklin. We missed it on the broadcast here, but Anthony Federico actually got by him on the backstretch, but he's got 2 Ryko cars lined up right behind him. Actually 3 with Chris Wilhite coming in 4th place, and it looks like Conklin's going to try to get back to his outside, but they've kind of gotten a little bit of a gap to 3rd place now.
Oh, another contact there. That is Brad Newman, and I do believe someone else. I think that was
JR.
J.R. Bubba Rima, I do believe that's who that was, in the 14. Good save, still up in the top 10. Did not lose a whole lot of positions there. But I'll tell you, the racing has just gotten insane here. As Miller Bonds, I do believe, tries to battle to try to see if he can't work his way even higher up the field. Very good run for 35 right now.
Yeah, we've just been seeing it get really tight on the exit of turn 2. I mean, everybody's just stopping or has quit giving space. I don't really know what to say other than that. I mean, we even had the 2 Ryko teammates up front on this replay here. Sean Conklin really just, honestly, that wasn't even that big of a pinch. Roman just got loose early in the corner and just never really had it under control after that. That's going to hurt his rear tires up really bad for the rest of this run, but that completely killed Sean Conklin's run and allowed Anthony Federico to get by him, and he's still holding on to the top position as they come out of turn 4, about to take lap 22.
And of course, Federico qualified on the pole and definitely has been keeping it up. He's been running really good lap times. Federico actually, I do believe, holds the fastest lap of the race thus far. Or very close, actually. The fastest lap of the race is actually Miller Bonds. But yeah, very quick laps from Federico. And I do believe Conklin, though, is taking the lead back, and he has.
Yeah, there's just really nothing he can really do against all the Ryko cars. Even if he looks to the inside here, it's just really going to open up the outside for Daniel Nanny. And you know dang well Daniel Nanny's going to go to the outside and get that draft if he can. But Anthony does a good job holding it through the middle of that corner. We're honestly a lot more spread out than we were at the beginning of the race. I'm kind of surprised that everybody's spread out a little bit more. Maybe it's just because we saw some argy-bargy, some bumpers getting hit, some door slamming off of turn 2, so everybody's just kind of spread out a little bit. But you know, we're kind of minding our P's and Q's now after that kind of hectic restart. We've got a slow lap car coming up right here on the bottom. Can't tell quite who that is. I'm sure he was caught up in that first accident, though. It looks like the 12 car. But, you know, we've got a nice little even formation up at the front right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you who's been making his way through the field, back through the field, I should say. It's Nicholas Roman. He's back up to now 17th. He's side by side with Tyler Marble right now. Of course, he had fallen outside of the top 20. He's now, like I said, he's making significant progress. We'll have to see how that car handles on the long run. But as you can see, Newman really starting to make some progress here, trying to get up into the top 5, and it looks like 3 wide for that 4th place or 3rd place position there for a moment.
Yeah, Newman's trying to make that bottom side work right here, but it's just really not going to happen. They've got the entire outside line plugged up. He's not really got any help. Oh, he was able to slide there in front of the Ryko car. I'm not quite sure who's in the golden Ryko car, but he just kind of he threw it in there really hard.
Miller Bonds there.
Oh, is that even a Ryko car then? I might be confused. Yeah, it is. Miller Bonds in the Ryko car. I don't know if that's new, but he's doing a great job up there. I think he just took the 5th position right there. He drove it in really, really deep into turn 3 as Brad Newman cut his nose off entering the corner and was able to pick up a couple spots and slide in behind his teammates for 5th place.
Yeah, 3 wide right now, a little bit further back. As you see, I do believe Junior Borborima trying to make a big move in the 14 machine. Oh, a little bit of contact there with Newman. He's going to lose some more pace. It's just unfortunate when you're by yourself on the bottom. It just you're going to end up getting a swarm, I think, getting around you. As we go 3 wide once again, Newman has just been really under a lot of pressure here, as I do believe Spencer Burns is well in there. Oh, the 14 almost comes up into the top of Newman. I think we're waiting on an accident to happen here, and it seems like it's all centered around Brad Newman.
Yeah, Borborema is not happy with Brad Newman. We saw him get off course towards the bottom of turn 2 earlier in the run. That was because Brad Newman came off the outside line and tagged him in the door. And then it happened again on the last lap. We heard JR come over the mic, really frustrated already. So I'm sure he's not happy with Brad Newman. Brad does seem to just kind of be the catalyst of everything going on right now. That is kind of a little bit of door check-in, a little bit of the cautions, but you know, I don't necessarily think he's done anything too egregious, but he is holding JR really tight off that corner, not using all the racetrack. So if I was JR, I'd be pretty frustrated too.
Yeah, it's definitely a frustrating track. I mean, it's very difficult to make passes, even though it seems very easy to do it. A lot of times when you make those passes, you got to cross them right back over, or you get crossed right back over. As you see Joseph entering the top 10. He's now side by side with Barbarima here. So a lot of battling still going on. Spencer Burns trying to hold on to the position, I do believe, from Brian Smith. A lot of drivers that we didn't see necessarily last week in competition here tonight is Brian Smith, I do believe, still battling with Spencer Burns.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the top 5. You know, Anthony Frederico's doing a great job holding on with all the Ryko cars. Just holding into P2. He's got 3 Ryko cars lined up behind him. So Anthony's doing a great job here, just holding pace, making sure he stays towards the front of this field for for later in the event. Further back, we just about have a 4-wide battle. Nicholas Roman trying to get to the outside. I believe that's Joshua Gath. No, it was Edward Scher that he was trying to get the outside of, I believe. But, I mean, goodness gracious, the racing in the middle of the pack, it just really doesn't calm down. We saw a single file line up front. Even now, they're 3 wide. 3 wide coming off to turn 4 for 5th. There's a little bit of contact. Reckon Miller Bonds. Oh, Keith Bridgman gets in it too. Another big accident. No caution comes out yet. Everybody keeps it straight, but that's going to be major damage on the 33 of Keith Bridgman.
Major damage as well, I'd say, on Miller Bonds. So unfortunate there. Didn't really get eyes on that myself, but definitely unfortunate there for Keith Bridgman. Nowhere really for him to go, as I don't think it's quite over yet. I mean, we're seeing a lot of drivers still trying to get their rhythms back, as Brian Smith went from the top 10 all the way back to outside of the top 20. As we take a look back at this accident, Miller Bonds and I do believe Brian Smith having some contact, as Brian Smith actually came down and got Miller Bonds' left rear.
I don't know, it looks like it started out by Miller Bonds getting loose. He actually came across Smith's nose, but then after Smith got into the wall, he just came down and cleared out Miller Bonds. That's going to be huge damage to both of those cars and Keith Bridgman, like I said earlier. Kind of sucks for everybody else that there was no caution, because it just kind of spread out the field really big time. I mean, there's only 15 cars in the lead pack now whenever we had the entire field in it. So it kind of sucks that we've got the pack so split up now, but maybe we'll see some harder racing up front now that they don't have to worry too much about all the guys behind them.
Yeah, definitely a lot of spreading out. Of course, still side by side for 3rd place right now. You see Brad Newman really, I'd say, racing Daniel Nanny very hard right now, trying to see if he can't maybe get up into the top 3. Of course, they are pretty much lined up. Look at he sails it into 1 and 2, and he is going to challenge for the lead here.
That was an incredible run through the center of the corner by Brad Newman. I mean, he started lap in 4th place, and he took the lead for a couple seconds there, but, I mean, he's going to be able to maybe take it back. Oh, wow, he drives him up the track. They're touring through the middle of the corner. Oh, my goodness, Brad Newman does not care about the door panels on that car one bit.
He said you can't take him with you, apparently. He is definitely trying to see if he can't possibly get the lead, and it's surprising he doesn't have any help when it comes to anybody pushing him. He's just so fast in these corners, but he's using these guys as well as somewhat brakes, I'd say, in a lot of ways, to kind of keep himself from hitting the wall. And I'm sure a lot of these guys are going to get very frustrated with that as he continues to kind of bounce off of Daniel Nanny. You see Joseph kind of utilizing the draft to catch up to the 7 here.
I also want to point out Nicholas Roman. We saw him get sideways on the restart, fall all the way back to the mid-20s. He's already back up to about 7th, 8th place. Great recovery drive. He was able to miss that accident that we saw a couple laps ago. So he's doing a great job getting back up to the rest of his Ryco teammates. But we just saw Brad Newman was just barely in the lead for a couple seconds there coming off of turn 2, and he's already fallen all the way back to 5th because he had no help on the bottom, and he just could not find a home on the outside. But it looks like he's going to try to take it to the outside of Chris Wilhite here coming off of turn 2.
Yeah, this really close there with Joseph. Joseph almost tagged his rear end and then turned him around. But Newman is able to get in line here. You can definitely tell this guy is very aggressive. Haven't seen Brad Newman, but he's got a high I-rating. Man, he's got a lot of speed. I'd be worried that these other guys might not be caring too much for this.
Oh, that's a tight 3 wide. My goodness,
through the middle, Joseph, and I do believe Spencer Burns, as well as Junior Bubba Rima, all right there, still 3 wide.
Sorry for cutting you off in the middle there. I just saw the contact. I mean, these guys do not give a rat's, you know what about the people on their outside. This is why I said I would be so frustrated if I was in the car. Nobody is giving anything. It's just all take in these A cars, especially in Michigan. And you just can't give up the outside line. So it's just a bunch of door slamming. It's a bunch of bumper cars going into the corner. It is so frustrating behind the wheel of these things this week. But watching it, I mean, I'm having a lot more fun watching than I was whenever I was racing.
Oh yeah, I definitely very much enjoy watching it here. We're 35 laps in here, and we have just seen non-stop intensity. I mean, you talked about it before. You were like, man, Brian, I think you better prepare for me to be screaming during this race. I think you might have been right, because this has been absolutely nothing but craziness here. As looks like, but eventually though, we're going to run out of race cars. They're going to be all broken. You know?
Brad Newman still dooring Nicholas Roman up the racetrack. I mean, oh, they're wrecking behind him. But look, oh, I can't tell who that is. That's Brooks Dirting and somebody else through the grass. They're off the track, so they're probably not going to bring out the caution. This is just ridiculous, man. Everybody's just dooring each other up the racetrack, throughout the corner, causing wrecks right where they're at, causing wrecks right behind them. There's no room at all for anybody. I think that's Joseph Square just about gets into the right rear of Brad Newman there coming off at turn 2. I just have too much to talk about. I can't even get my thoughts straight. There's so much happening.
100%. I mean, that was Brooks Dirting and Brian Young.
Joseph Square and Spencer Burns are getting together, entering turn 3. They're three wide. Oh my goodness, they're just door slamming all over the place. I know we just went to replay. They're fine on the normal on the normal feed, but this is just ridiculous, man.
And you saw the actual initial contact didn't even involve Brian Young. I do believe that was another car that was in front of them. I couldn't actually identify who exactly that was. But definitely it has been just absolutely nuts out here on the racetrack, and we're not even at the halfway point yet. As actually the top 12 right now separated. They're about a second, but of course if the gap starts to grow, and the further back you go. So we really don't have a whole lot of drivers that are in the mix here up in the front. I mean, it's kind of a small pack relative to what it was when we first started this race.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just seen a couple of these little minor incidents that have broken up the pack big time. They've caused some major damage to a couple of our main contenders. We saw Brooks Dirting do a good job getting to this main pack. He just got taken out in that last one. I think he'll probably be able to fix it up pretty well if he can get a caution. We saw people like Levine, Brandon Bikey, Joshua Watson get taken out pretty heavy early, and just a couple of these little minor wrecks that haven't been able to bring out a caution has really spread out the field into a couple of main groups. But I mean, this main group is not quieting down at all. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another wreck or two from them in the next 10 laps before we even get to green flag pit stops. I mean, this is just absolutely ridiculous.
It's pandemonium. That's exactly what it is. They're coming up on some lap traffic now, I do believe, as well. So definitely the excitement has not died down in the slightest. As you see Joseph trying to make something happen on Federico. It looks like he is going to secure that second spot. Federico gets shuffled out down to the bottom line. You see Newman thinking about dipping out. Now side by side for the lead. Here comes Joseph Squared up to possibly lead as they come up to a lap car. Thinking that is one of the Hyperforce race cars, I do believe.
I believe that was Derek Lemke.
Oh, Derek Lemke. It looked like one of the Hyperforce race cars.
Looks like our highest running Hyperforce race car is Edward Scherer here. He's about the only one that's missed all the accidents, and he's tucked in right behind Nicholas Roman here. Nick's done a great job working back, like I said, from about 25th. He got up to 5th-ish and then got kind of split by his teammates there. Brad Newman's done a great job. He fell back to 10th after one of those little minor incidents as he's back up to fighting for about 5th place. And then up for the lead, Joseph Square. Looks like he's going to dive in really deep on Sean Conklin here, try to take it from him going into turn 3 and 4. And it looks like he's going to do it and slide across his nose and take the position.
Yeah, you love this battling here. I mean, this has just been nothing but exciting. I know, like you said, it's very frustrating and somewhat ridiculous, but I love it as a commentator. I'm glad I'm sitting where I'm at. This has been so exciting as we see. I do believe Lawrence Shaughnessy is going to be going a lap down here. So a lot of drivers who are still damaged are going a lap down, probably praying and hoping for some sort of caution to come out so they can possibly get back in this event and possibly get some damage repaired. And you usually do not see caution or wrecks that are of that magnitude that don't bring a caution out, but we saw some huge ones.
That's just kind of one of those things about Michigan, though. I feel like ever since I joined the service in about 2017, Michigan was always one of those tracks where you could spin off of the corner, and if you got down to either the grass on the exit of turn 4 or onto the apron on the exit of turn 2 before caution comes out, it just won't. You know, it's just so far off the racetrack that iRacing deems it completely clean and clear. I don't necessarily blame them, but it does suck that we've got the field so spread out. You know, we've only got 12 cars in the main pack whenever we've still got 24 on the lead lap. So I know there's still a lot of good cars that have absolutely gotten screwed over by that, and now the lead pack is just kind of single filed out because everybody's on older tires. It's kind of getting a little bit harder to make the moves that you could make earlier in the run, but we might have green flag pit stops in about 15 laps to shake that all up.
That's a good point. I mean, we talked about how long the fuel, or how much the fuel window was. It was about 48 laps. Now, I know a lot of drivers have already pitted, so we probably can make it a little bit longer. than that. So I do believe, yeah, a lot of guys are probably going to be trying to split this run in half to get some fresh tires. Speaking of tire wear, I mean, we're seeing about a half a second or more of fall off right now. As I do believe we're still battling for the lead. Daniel Nanny trying to take it away from Joseph. And I do believe Nanny does have a little bit of help from Sean Conklin. But it looks like Joseph Squared is going to be able to secure the lead as they come up on even more lap traffic. And I do believe that is Will Cannon possibly they're getting ready to come up on.
Yeah, I know I've said it, but this kind of racing, whenever you're behind the wheel, is so frustrating. I mean, I cannot tell you how irritating it is. But man, is it fun to watch. I mean, this just door banging, door slamming, people just making tiny mistakes, getting into each other because it's harder to drive than a super speedway, but you're packed up like a super speedway. I mean, it's a ton of fun to watch, but God bless, I was so frustrated running earlier this week, and I can tell these guys are frustrated behind the wheel. I mean, if I got door slammed 3 or 4 times in a couple laps, I'm holding on, trying not to hit the voice chat button to cuss somebody out because I mean, it is just so irritating.
It is, and then, you know, it's very difficult to have that willpower. I'm sure a lot of these drivers are really just seeing red right now, almost like you see at a short track. And when you're like that, a lot of times you don't necessarily make the best decisions, so that can kind of lead to even more frustration. So I think it's just almost like a cycle of frustration in a lot of ways. You see these guys coming up on some more lap traffic. I do believe that is the 15 of Jeffrey Marble. That is getting past there, so that is yet another driver a lap down. I believe we're 23 lap cars on the lead lap right now. Lap 45, getting closer and closer to the halfway point. I know we're going to have green flag pit stops very soon. While we're to prepare for that, let's actually take a quick commercial break and pay some attention to our sponsors. We'll be right back with green flag pit stops.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to GridVision's coverage of the NIS Top Split race at Michigan International Speedway. Of course, my name is Brian Britt. I got Austin Esbrom as my co-commentator. Austin Derbyshire down behind the cameras. I also didn't mention earlier we have James South actually live tweeting the event as well, so make sure you follow us on Twitter. You can actually, or X, I should say. They've been changing it. But Joseph, of course, still out in front. Actually just lapping, I do believe, Joshua Watson, one of his Ryko teammate.
Yeah, Watson actually did a pretty good job there holding on to the lead lap as long as he did. I thought he would be falling back a little bit hard. Well, I say lead lap. He's actually 18 down. I guess he's just had a lot of damage repair. Maybe he had to get a new engine, but he follows in behind his teammates right here. And just kind of have a Ryko train up towards the front. What we're seeing with the top two, right, Joseph Squared and Daniel Nanny, they weren't really challenging for the lead super hard at the beginning of this run, but as the run ran down, they kind of, I believe they saved their tires a little bit better than people like Sean Conklin and Anthony Federico did, because they were really racing hard for the lead at the beginning of this run, and now Federico's completely fallen off of the lead pack by about half a second, and Sean Conklin's fallen back to P3 and hasn't been able to challenge both of the leaders again. So I really think that top two just did a better job saving tires at the beginning of this run to where they're able to build this gap up. We see the main pack is kind of split into about 3 little groupings. So all that crazy hard racing that we were getting used to at the beginning of this run is kind of fallen by the wayside. I'm kind of interested to see how it all shakes up after the pit stops, though. You know, after everybody pits, you just never really know how it's going to cycle out, how the draft trains are going to work, and whether certain groups are going to be a little bit better than other groups, how many cars are going to be in the front pack. Oh, there's a little bit of contact. Again, Brad Newman and his doors, man. I can't believe the doors are even still on that freaking car. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Nicholas Roman's trying to get by him with some help from Edward Schur. So we're going to see, you know, I think pit stops will start in about, I don't know, the pit window opens in 3 laps. I could really see them starting to come around, I don't know, lap 60, so maybe 8 laps away, but the pit window does open here in just a couple, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I'm seeing a lot of struggle coming from Anthony Federico, but definitely the top two, you can tell that they've definitely been saving their tires. I don't know, Sean Conklin is starting to come back to these guys, 39.555 last time by, but a lot of drivers are in the 40-second lap range. Of course, they start off Edward Schur getting really close to, of course, Newman. But yeah, I think we're going to see green flag pit stops, and I think that could maybe provoke some strategy from some guys. You know, when would you pit if I do believe these guys are about on 35+ laps on their tires right now, and the yellow flag is out. That takes it completely out of the picture. And I do believe Spencer Burns has an issue.
Not quite sure where that happened, who it was, but you know, we kind of, as soon as we start getting spread out to where we're not going to get that hard racing, it's going to come right back. And a lot of those drivers that weren't involved in those early accidents that didn't cause a caution are going to be able to be right back with the main pack. It looks like we're looking at Spencer Burns here. He gets a little loose in front of Joshua Gathright. Gathright has absolutely nowhere to go, spins him out. I'm kind of surprised that brings out a caution with it being so far off the racetrack. I was just talking earlier about how, you know, you don't really get a caution for it being down there, but maybe because Gathright was straight and right behind him and followed him down there, maybe the caution comes out. But I'm happy it did come out because we were starting to get spread out, so I'm definitely not upset about it.
Yeah, I don't think that definitely was not Gathwright's fault, and I think he actually got out of that relatively clean. Really good heads-up driving for him. He actually, I'm surprised he was able to really miss that as much as he did. I mean, he did have a little bit of contact, but I think Burns was just really loose already anyway. So unfortunate there. You know, of course, fortunate for us that the caution does come out because we're going to get to see everybody line back up and get after it. I think that this is going to be crazy. We're going to wreck some more race cars here in a moment.
Yeah, you're going to hear me screaming again. Woo. But, yeah, Gathright did a good job there. You know, whenever somebody's spinning in front of you like that, and it just was a little bit of a lazy kind of spin coming off the corner, you never know if they're just going to hard correct and turn it hard right against the outside wall. So I kind of like what he did. He went right where the other car was, and with how strong these front bumpers are, you know, if you just barely touch somebody like he did, it's not really going to cause any damage to you. So I think he did a great job keeping his nose clean, even though he did make a little bit of contact, but he'll be 100% okay, probably 0 damage. And even Spencer Burns, I don't think that he got any damage off of that either. So just a couple sets of new tires on both those machines, and they're going to be all good.
Yeah, this is really going to bring a lot more drivers into this race as well. The guys that got damaged, I mean, you see, you know, Paul Bergolla, he had major damage earlier in this race, was very much involved. He's going to get a lot of that damage fixed. A lot of the other drivers are going to be doing the exact same thing. One thing I've noticed about the new damage model, I know I was doing a race earlier today myself, had gotten some fairly severe front nose damage, spent my time on pit road, got it all fixed, and came out and was right back to being competitive again. I think that a lot of these drivers could find themselves back into competition here just because they didn't give up and quit.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Once you get all the damage fixed, as long as you don't have any engine power or engine damage, you know, you're probably going to be all right in the draft, especially on new tires. Maybe towards the end of the run, like if we go green the rest of the way, I would maybe have some question marks for those people, whether the damage just kind of affects their handling towards the end of these runs. But if they continue to get some cautions, which I think will happen with how these guys are racing in a pack, I really think they'll just throw on a new set of tires with 20 laps to go and be completely fine.
100%. Let's do a quick rundown through the top 10 here while we have a moment. Of course, Joseph is our leader. He has definitely done a fantastic job so far tonight. Daniel Nanny sits in the second place position. Of course, third place, Sean Conklin. Fourth place, our pole sitter, Anthony Federico. Of course, he sits in fourth. Fifth place, Chris Wilhite. Sixth place, Brad Newman. He's been really the one to watch, that 7 machine. Of course, seventh place, Edward Scherer Jr., highest running Hyperforce driver at the moment. Eighth place, Junior Borborema. He's definitely been one that has had a little bit of a hot head, but has really done well on that 14 car. Ninth place, Nicholas Vroman, who started, I do believe, up towards the front, has worked his way back to ninth place, so good on him. Of course, 10th place, Lataro Lamperti. So that's a difficult name to say, but apparently his nickname is the Butcher. Okay.
That sounds like the F1 games where it's like pick your
like
vocal name.
WWE. The Butcher.
I'm the engineer.
I remember, you ever played the WWE video games? Like it's like pick, got to pick your name. The Butcher. Introducing the Butcher.
Maybe we should call him that for the rest of the race. If we see Latoro towards the front,
I'm just gonna call him the Butcher. That's
the
right.
Butcher. That's what we're calling him every time.
He's gonna be butchering the competition.
Well, let's hope he doesn't slice through the field and cause a big drag. That would be unfortunate. I would definitely be memeing the hell out of the Butcher name. But we're coming back to the green here for our second restart of the night, as we got Joseph Squared and Daniel Nanny taking up the front row.
Yeah, Joseph Square definitely has been looking really good. A lot of talent in that race car driver. Green flag is back out in the air. Joseph kind of making the same mistake I think Conklin did earlier, where he kind of jumped it a little bit more than I think he should. But here comes Conklin on the inside. Can he get there as they enter turn number 1? Looks like all three top 4 Ryko drivers. Of course, Chris Wilhite holding that 4th place position. I think he has gotten clear of Federico. You see a lot of draft breaking here from Joseph. Haven't seen a whole lot of that tonight.
Yeah, I think he was trying to give the bottom car, which is another one of his teammates, a little bit of a draft boost, trying to keep the two behind him side by side so that they kind of had that side draft issue so that they couldn't build a massive run on them. And actually the bottom car, Daniel Nanny, actually gets clear of Sean Conklin and has just got a little bit of a run here on Joseph Square coming down the front stretch, going down into turn 1.
Looks like one of the only drivers that is on the bottom is Edward Scherer Jr. No one wanting to help that driver. He's sitting in 6th though still. He's going to try to clear Brad Newman. I think he's going to do it. And of course, remember, Junior Barbarima was kind of upset with Brad Newman. I don't know if they're going to be done with being upset with each other because they're side by side.
Yeah, we've seen how many times Brad Newman has gotten door slammed or done the door slamming, and he's right next to somebody that he's done it twice to. So, but actually, JR gets by him, no harm, no foul, and they're still clean. We see Edward trying to make another move to the bottom of Anthony Federico here, our pole sitter. Edward really dedicated to that bottom line. I've kind of seen him throughout the race. He's really trying it. I'm more inclined to think the outside line's better, but I mean, he's making a little bit of progress. I just don't see him finding a hole here, as Chris Wilhite is kind of blocking where he could be with Federico right behind him. They're just going to kind of have a train down the back stretch as they've got the draft from the front 3 Ryko cars, and Edwards just going to kind of go backwards until he enters turn number 3.
Yeah, still side by side there with Federico, getting a little bit tight, door to door with the 7. Actually, that is the 9. Cosmetically, that's the 7 and Federico, but he actually technically in the service, he is the 9 right now. But it's like Edward Scherer not able to get there. He falls right back in line in front of Junior or JR. Definitely still some battling going on, but this is a lot chiller, I'd say, than it was earlier. But Newman getting incredibly close, I do believe, to John Wittendorf. We haven't seen him, Wittendorf, up in 9th place, 13th machine.
Yeah, we could just be starting to see people taking care of their tires just a little bit more. Everybody knows that they can make it to the end of the race on this set of tires, on this tank of gas. So we could be seeing some people taking it a little bit easier, making sure they have some tires for the end of it. But I really just think we're going to have a big accident at some point. We're going to get another caution to stack this field up where everybody else can take tires again. So, I mean, maybe some people towards the back that kind of got lucky with that last caution will start making some moves. Justin Levine, as we're riding on board with him, he's sitting in about 14th place right now. We might see some big moves from him. Spencer Burns in front of him, who was involved in that last caution. And Edward Scherer Jr. is still trying to make that bottom line work for 5th place.
Yeah, and that is one point I say we're really proud of Justin Levine. He's rocking the GridVision paint. That's the most beautiful scheme out there right now. Even though it's probably got a little bit of damage on it, but still, we're very excited to have our broadcasting company kind of being represented on the racetrack, and he's definitely got a lot of stuff going on right around him as well. As I do believe the battle is on between Joshua Gathright and Jacob Klein for that 17th position. Everybody in front of these guys pretty much single file. I don't know, Edward Silver Jr. battling with Anthony Federico once again, and that is for the 5th spot, and still has not been able to get that position. I think if Edward Silver Jr. had some help, he might would be able to make something happen a little bit easier here. But you see a big move as well from Tyler Marble trying to work his way up. And there ain't no big slide job in front of the 7. This is scary.
Man, he almost got into the right rear. Nicholas Roman, too, as he slide jobbed the 7 of Brad Newman, but everybody's somehow all right coming off of turn 4. I'm kind of surprised, but I think a big reason why we're seeing a little bit less racing right now is because the top 4 are all Ryko cars, and like I mentioned earlier, once they get to the top 3 or 4 and are holding every position, they're not really going to pass each other. They're not going to race each other in the lead until the end of the race. They're all just riding, even on the front stretch, whenever they get huge runs. They're just hitting the guy in front of them, and they're not doing anything crazy to upset anybody. They're not doing, not a big enough hit to kind of get anybody loose going into the corner. So the Ryko guys are really just staying committed to each other here, coming off of turn 4, and really just working with each other on that high line through both front stretch and back stretch.
Yeah, you can't blame them. I mean, I think any team would be trying to do that. I mean, you really want to try to control the field here. You see Tyler Marble still trying to make something happen. He's getting really tight up on Edward Scher Jr. Battle is on for 6th place, as the 19 doesn't have a whole lot of help. He does fall right in front of Nicholas Vroman. I guarantee you Vroman is probably really frustrated. He's probably one of the frustrated drivers out there right now. He just has fallen all the way outside of the top 20, and now is back up in here in 9th and just cannot seem to get up through the field. He's kind of been stagnant at 9th place.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see, is Vroman just saving his tires? Will he be able to go up there and challenge a couple of his Ryko teammates later in the run? I could really see it as we've got actually a challenge with some of the Ryko cars. Anthony Federico finally puts it to the inside. He actually is able to get side by side for 3rd place whenever he was running 5th, but I mean, there's just not going to be a hole, and the Ryko cars are not going to give him any sort of chance, but he's actually got a little bit of help this time from JR.
Yeah, glad to see some help, and looks like a little bit of a block there from, you see Sean Conklin trying to kind of cut the runoff there from Federico, but it's not going to work. Federico is bound and determined, and like you said, he does have some help from JR. JR is definitely connected to the back bumper. And I think they might have a chance here. I think if I was Edward Scher Jr., I might would jump down and try to help those guys out. Like, hey, we got to work together. I know we're not all on the same team, but we got to work together because Ryko seems like they just have really the numbers right now.
Yeah, the only problem there if you're in Ed's position is if you're the 3rd car on the bottom, are you just going to be the only one that ends up going backwards? Like, are you just going to help the front 2 in front of you break up the Ryko train, and then you get trained by some other guys coming behind that go on the outside? So I kind of agree with you, kind of disagree. Like, I don't really think Ed was in a spot there where he could go to the bottom and make a big win out of it. I think it would have broke up the Ryko train, but it looks like a little bit of that train's going to get broken up here anyway, because Anthony Federico is going to get to the outside of the 54 here coming off of turn number 2.
And they're kind of battling each other in a little bit as well. I mean, you see Wilhite and Conklin side by side. I think Conklin might be getting shuffled out right here. So Federico, I think, is definitely going to move up into 4th and maybe even up to 3rd because he now has his nose above Wilhite.
Just about. I think Wilhite's going to be able to close him off. Yeah, he does coming off of turn 4. Wilhite's able to keep the position. It's all about Edward Scher here. Can he kind of fill in that gap before Sean Conklin can get into it? Down turn 2, or down entering turn 1, he does. It's just about if that gap opens up and Sean can get into it before he closes back up coming off of one of these corners. But he's just about door to door with Chris Wilhite coming off of turn 2. They almost door slam going down the backstretch. Looks like Anthony is going to be able to get back to his outside, and they're going to push clear of him going into turn 3.
Even though Conklin is really putting his race or top 5 position at risk right now, I think he's kind of doing this maybe to help Vroman out, because Vroman is using the draft to kind of catch up. As we see 3 wide, Barbarima in the middle right now is Tyler Marble on the high side. This is definitely getting very interesting. You see also Brad Newman coming back into the picture as well.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm just really focused on Anthony Federico, what he can do entering these corners. Can he get to the outside of Chris Wilhite? Because whenever it's 3 or 4 cars lined up that are all committed to each other on the outside, you really can't do anything. But if it's only 2, there's only 2 teammates that are in front of you, you can maybe make something happen. So if Anthony Federico can get to the outside of Chris Wilhite exiting one of these corners, I think that we've got a good chance to see some of the Ryko guys kind of break up a little bit. As Evers comes off the corner, he tags Brad Newman. As there's a wreck going down the front stretch into the grass, Tyler Marble through the grass. No caution out quite yet. Looks like everybody's going to skate away with it just fine for now. But, well, as we were saying, breaking up the Ryko guys, everybody but the Ryko guys were involved in that one. So they're just going to be able to kind of have their 1 through 4 again, because I don't think Anthony's going to be able to get the outside of Conklin. No, he doesn't. And now he's got a challenger from another Ryko car and Nicholas Roman on his bottom.
You see right here, Edward Shearer Jr. gets into the 7 of Newman. Newman, what a save. Got to give Brad Newman some credit on that. How did he save that race car? And unfortunately, Tyler Marble really paid the price out of that whole ordeal.
Yeah, he really did. He had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, he had nothing to do with it. Now outside of contention now. Of course,
and I don't see too much damage to. Sorry, I don't see any damage really to Edward Shearer. I see some paint scuffs, maybe a little bit of right side damage, but I think he'll be mostly okay. And he's got a teammate in Will Cannon behind him. And we're seeing another HFE car that's kind of taken his spot in the top 10. Justin Levine running that GridVision paint scheme. He's now behind Anthony Federico, pulling out that outside lane on the outside of Nicholas Roman. Anthony's trying again to get to the outside of Sean Conklin, break up that Ryko train that we've seen on the outside the entire time. Sean and Chris getting to each other again. Doors coming up at turn 4. And we're going to have another little train here on the outside. We can see if maybe one of them or both of them can clear the 2 Ryko cars on the bottom.
You see Nicholas Roman as well has been slowly but surely working his way up as he's side by side right now with Justin Levine. Of course, the 11 machine, who has just really entered the contest, and you can see a lot of right front damage on Levine. So I'm worried about that 11 car. If he gets in clean air, what is going to happen? You can see he's got substantial right front damage, I do believe.
I think he's been able to get most of it fixed, so I don't think he'll be too bad. It's just about keeping Anthony on the outside of Sean here. That's really the main thing he's got to think.
I think that could be his paint scheme that looks like damage. I might be just mistaken.
I know that he did get hit in the right front earlier, but it looks like he has gotten all of it fixed from my perspective. But he's really just got to try to get Federico to the outside of Chris Wilhite. It looks like they're both going to clear Conklin here, and Brad Newman's going to fill up the outside too. So we've actually got 3 Ryko cars and then 3 non-Ryko affiliated cars from 4th to 6th. So we can maybe see a change up in the front here if they can kind of mount a charge on the outside.
Yeah, 3 wide right now. As you see, I do believe Will Cannon. Oh, contact with Nicholas Roman, and I do believe Junior Barbarima still 3 wide. As Will Cannon kind of benefited from that. He now moves up to 8th place. As Roman now is in danger of falling out of the side of the top 10.
Justin Levine makes an amazing move to the outside of Anthony Federico. He's actually going to take that 4th position coming off of turn number 2, but I don't know if I necessarily like that move because now he's got another Ryko car behind him, and I don't know. I would have rather had maybe 5th place over Federico or had Federico in front of me for 4th. Now he's just kind of in a Ryko sandwich, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get any help no matter which way he goes. Maybe he could have helped Anthony in a different way, but you know, he's already made his move and he's up to 4th place. So we'll see. Maybe his teammate Will Cannon or Edward Shearer can kind of get up there and help him, but I don't know. It's just a little bit early to kind of be shuffling out some of your potential help against the Ryko cars.
I don't know. I trust Justin Levine's judgment. He's really, really fast. But you can see Chris Wilhite getting incredibly close to the wall there on exit as we come to now 25 laps to go this time by, and it has been nothing but excitement. Of course, I'm surprised at how green this race has been. I know that I've seen a lot of, you kind of even said earlier that you thought this was going to be a caution fest. It has not been that way yet, and I think the closer we get to the end, the more likely I think that's going to be the case. And I think the accidents we have seen though so far tonight have been really catastrophic and have had major implications on the race, but they haven't been numerous, I'd say, when it comes to cautions.
Oh, they're 3 wide coming off of turn 2, just about. Justin Levine actually tucks back in behind Chris Wilhite. Probably the smart decision. It looked like Brad Newman was probably going to clear them both into the wall if they were still 3, because Brad had such a good run through the corner. But Levine does a good job holding on to the spot as he kind of comes down to crowd Newman going into 3, block off Sean Conklin through the middle of 3 and 4. But it's just kind of tough because I don't know if he's going to be able to build any type of run against these Ryko cars without any help from somebody else. And, you know, out of the 5 cars that are behind him, only one's a teammate, 2 are unaffiliated with either team, and 2 of them are Ryko cars. Well, he's got 3 Ryko cars in front of him. So oh man, he really dives it into the outside of Chris Wilhite. That's an insane move through turns 1 and 2. Does a great job to get to his outside, and he's going to hold his quarter panel going down the backstretch.
Justin Levine moves up now to possibly 3rd if he can maintain this run. And I think he will. And of course, he kind of had help from another Ryko driver, Sean Conklin. Conklin kind of pushed Levine his way up there as we see almost 3 wide there. Federico getting passed by Newman. Also, I'm telling you, Will Cannon definitely a threat as well to come break up a lot of this racing up here. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of drivers that were not in contention earlier in this race now up here in the battle. You love
Levine's
to see
again. Levine again, just about to the outside of Daniel Nanny. Oh my goodness, he's doing that move I was talking about going into turn 1 earlier in the race, where you just drive it in so deep on the outside of somebody else going into turn 1. And as long as they don't take your line away right off the beginning, you really just have a hell of a run through the middle of the corner and can get to their outside. And that is the absolute best place to make the passes. He's done a great job. Almost made it work on Daniel Nanny after he made it work on Chris Wilhite just a couple laps ago. But to Justin Levine's dismay, he's got 2 Ryko cars lined up right behind him. I imagine one of them is going to try to go to his bottom as soon as they get a big run matched up here.
Yeah, and I think they're also probably getting wise to his strategy as well. They're probably like, you see what he's doing, right? We got to stop this. He's definitely looking really quick, though. But I'm telling you, Joseph has been really dominant. Once he has taken the lead, he has never really looked back. I mean, he's got Daniel Nanny. He's been really matching him step for step. But, of course, Justin Levine, you got to love it when you see the GV GridVision paint scheme out there and running in 3rd in top split. NIS 5,000 plus SOF. I'm definitely happy about it, I'll tell you that.
I'm really impressed by, you know, 2 or 3 drivers in the top 10 in specific. Like you mentioned, Joseph, you know, he started back in 29th and he's in the lead. And like you said, ever since he's taken it, hasn't looked back. Yeah, he's had some Ryko teammates there to look out for him, but they've done a good job holding on to their track position. Justin Levine, like you mentioned, he started 17th up to 3rd. It was in that first wreck. And Will Cannon, he started 26th and he's up to 7th. An absolutely amazing run from Will Cannon. I know that he's not a frequent NIS Friday night member, but whenever he does run, he typically runs about fringe top 10 and gets some very clean races going. So great job from Will Cannon as he's got Nicholas Roman right on his back bumper, and we'll see if maybe they can make some noise and push him to the front here towards the end of this.
Yeah, looks like Roman is trying to maybe pass Cannon side by side right now for that 7th place position. Roman, though, not quite able to get the pass completed. And I'm telling you, right now we're seeing a lot of tire fall off as most of the drivers are falling off almost a second right now. And I think, you know, we still got a long way to go. If we continue to go down this rabbit hole, I think a lot of drivers are going to find themselves very having a tough time actually making passes here as we continue. Of course, these guys can make it on fuel. But I think a lot of these drivers are going to be probably wanting maybe something else to happen. I mean, I think, and the more the tires fall off, the more likely I think we could see someone maybe have a self-spin or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're starting to see some of the effects of the tire fall off already. You know, our front pack has just kind of started dwindling. We see some stragglers falling off the back of it. We've only got a main pack of about, I don't know, 12, 13 cars right now, if even that. I mean, it's about 10 or 11. So you can really see that the tire wear is starting to affect some of the guys at the back half of the top 10, maybe the front half of the 11th to 20 range. So I don't know. It's looking like it's just going to be a few cars towards the end of this. We're coming to 18 to go right here. I mean, that's a long time for tires to fall off more. I really don't know who's got the best setup for the very end of these runs, so it'll be interesting to see if Justin Levine in that GridVision car has a better long run set, or if he's burnt up his stuff getting all the way through the field, if Roman's done as good of a job saving tires as I think he was doing at the beginning, or if Will Cannon has done really good saving his. So there's a bunch of different stories in the top 10 about who's saving tires, who can make the moves at the end of this run, and we're coming down to the end of it with about 17 to go if you bet the stripe.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to have the time. I don't care what setup you're running. I don't think you're going to have much of anything left by the end of this race to make a move. I mean, really. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. I mean, you see Nanny. I'm kind of seeing a little bit of Daniel Nanny. I think he might be getting a little restless himself here. I mean, even though they're on the same team, Joseph and Nanny, eventually in this race, guys are going to get to where they're going to think about, I want to make the move and win this race myself. Even though, you know, I know that they're on the same team, and probably the first 90% of this race, everybody's going to be like, yeah, team first. When you get to that last 10 or 5 or so, or maybe even last couple laps, I don't care about my team. I'm trying to win this race.
So while I agree with you 100%, still nobody's going to be pushing Justin Levine. Nobody's going to be pushing Brad Newman. Nobody's going to be pushing Will Cannon. Yeah, everybody else in the top 8, the other 5 drivers are all Ryko cars. While they might not explicitly completely push one of their teammates, they're not going to hang them out to dry versus an HFE car, versus a car like Brad Newman, who doesn't have that affiliation with any of these. So, you know, whenever it comes down to it, a Chris Wilhite, a Sean Conklin, a Nicholas Roman will absolutely choose Joseph or Daniel Nanny over Levine, over Brad Newman. So it's really just about, can Levine get to the lead and build a little bit of a gap? Can he get lucky? Maybe the front 2 Ryko cars, like you mentioned, start racing each other and get together a little bit and cause a big stack up that allows him to get away in a way. You know, there's a couple different things that could lead to Levine or Newman or Will Cannon winning. As Will Cannon gets to the outside of Brad Newman going through 1 and 2, looks like he's going to have to dip back to his inside or back in line. But I don't know, it's just going to be hard for anybody not with a Ryko paint scheme on to make a move to win this race. I think it's kind of like Colleague at Atlanta a couple weeks ago, or Junior Motorsports at Daytona at the beginning of the year, where they looked like they had it completely wrapped up, completely won, but it just took a massive breakdown in communication, a breakdown in teamwork to kind of give the win away. I think that's going to be what it takes for a guy like Levine or Brad Newman to win this race.
Yeah, 100%. See a big wiggle there for Will Cannon off of turn 4. Fortunately for him, he was able to keep it pointed in the right direction. But I think we've pretty much plateaued in a lot of ways when it comes to fall off. Pretty much everybody in this top 10 running almost identical laps. I mean, they're only separated probably lap time wise by hundredths. So that, I don't know. I mean, we're not really seeing anybody standing out, and that's one thing that I'd say this week has been really about. I mean, all of the setup shops and teams have been really very close when it comes to pace all throughout the run, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I agree. Especially the top dogs, right? You know, the Rykos, the TWRS. I don't know if I've seen EPI car up here, but I think EPI is normally pretty good. But, you know, the top dogs have definitely done a really good job this week of keeping it close up at the front. You know, we've got 11 cars in the main pack. Everybody affiliated with any of the setup shops or any of the teams in the front 11 have done a great job this week, you know, being able to be so even with each other. Last week we saw Ryko just far and away dominate Richmond. I mean, they by far just had the best setup, and some weeks you hit it like that, but everybody else came back this week and hit them hard. And while, you know, there are 5 Ryko cars in the top 7, top 8 right here, there were a lot of fast cars that could be challenging with them right now. They got taken out in that first accident. There are a couple of HFE cars.
Oh, speaking of which, contact. Sorry to interrupt you. Brad Newman and Will Cannon having a little bit of contact. I think Cannon might have won that, maybe. Newman tries to clear himself on Roman. That almost ended poorly.
Again, Brad Newman and his right side door, my goodness. I don't understand, man, and a lot of them haven't even been his fault. There's a couple that I think have been, but there's a lot that he hasn't necessarily done anything too wrong, as he just about gets to the left rear quarter panel of Roman. He tried to side draft him, but it's just not going to work. Roman actually does duck down in front of him to give him the draft, kind of screwing Anthony Federico. I think he knows Federico's got a really good car, and he doesn't want to give him any type of benefit, but, you know, that's a great job from Will Cannon, moving up to 6th place. Maybe he could pick off another one of these Ryko cars in front of him and give Levine a little bit of help. That might be Levine's one saving grace, but the front 2 Ryko cars are starting to pull away a little bit with about 10 laps to go.
Yeah, and we also got to keep in mind as well is these guys have been in relatively clean air. Even though Daniel Nanny has not been in exactly the cleanest air, but he's been in cleaner air than the guys behind him, and that a lot of times can help you save tires quite substantially. So I think that's why these top 2 are showing more speed.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And like I mentioned earlier, there are a couple other guys that I feel like could have been up here with this main pack. I mean, we saw Tyler Marble get spun earlier in this race. Michael McLean had a lot of damage. Brandon Bikey, Joshua Watson, another Ryko car that got completely screwed over earlier. But, you know, like you said, the front two have just done a really, really good job saving their tires, being up front in that clean air. And we actually see Nicholas Roman get past Will Cannon for 6th place. So now we've got 5 Ryko cars in the top 6, which definitely doesn't bode well for Justin Levine. It's going to take a a miracle in terms of a Ryko team breakdown to give this win to anybody else. And like we mentioned, the front two are just scooting away from the rest of the pack just a little bit. They do have a little bit of dirty air now here from, I believe, I can't tell exactly who that is, but Brian Young, I believe. They're getting a little bit of dirty air, but they're also going to get a little bit of draft down the backstretch. So really just depends. Are Ryko cars going to help Levine get back up there? So,
Joshua Watson. Newman just accidentally turned him, and that is going to be a caution flag, and that is going to mean a shootout at the end here. What does this mean? This is, man, Brad Newman has been involved in a lot of the crashes here tonight, unfortunately, but let's see exactly what happened here. And it looks like a side draft gone wrong, as Brad Newman gets a little too close for comfort to Joshua Watson, and Watson takes himself a trip down into the infield or into the grass.
Yeah, I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it doesn't look good for Brad Newman. I mean, he just drifted up the racetrack and took Watson out. Nothing Joshua Watson did wrong. Watson is 20 laps down, but he's got every right to be up by the wall, so.
A little bit of contact on the wall as well. He could have, man, that is just unfortunate there. Yeah, like you said, Joshua Watson, nothing really he could do here. You can see the 7 was just really trying to side draft. Little touch is all it took and sent him right around. Unfortunately, we now have a caution that is going to, this is going to make this insane right here. This is going to, everybody I would assume is probably going to come down, take tires. We could see some guys stay out, but that could even complicate things further.
This is going to be a messy finish. That's all I can say. I mentioned about everybody being frustrated as all get out earlier. I mean, after this, it's not green, white, checkered, but we might end up getting a couple of those towards the end of this. I think we're going to see a lot of messed up feelings, some beat up fenders, and a lot of irritated drivers, I'm telling you. But I think we're also in for a really, really good finish. There's going to be some huge runs. Everybody's going to, we kind of saw people earlier be committed to that outside line. You're going to see more risk being taken now because, I mean, it's towards the end of the race. Everybody's got new tires. If the inside line doesn't work at this point, screw it. Oh, well, we're still going to try it. And we're probably going to see a lot more of that door banging we've been seeing at the beginning of this race.
Nicholas Vroman, 2-tire stop. He had 38 laps on his tires.
Wow.
And took 2. My goodness. I'm wondering how that's going to work out. I mean, this is the track that I think that could work. But with 38 laps on the tires, I don't know about that part.
Yeah, the left sides wear out pretty good here. They're not like crazy worn, but I mean, I'm trying to think back to Wednesday in my A Open, and I believe, my right sides were somewhere in the 93 range, and my left sides were actually a little bit more worn down. So I'm interested to see, and that might have been after a spin, but I'm interested to see here. I don't know if those left side tires are going to hold up as good as he wants them to, but he's got the track position, and he was struggling to get it back. Whenever he did get stuck behind the rest of his teammates. So I don't know. This could be a race-winning strategy call from Nicholas Roman here.
It could very well be, but I mean, I think it's his car is going to be extremely loose. I have a sneaking suspicion. I mean, I actually can echo that same thing. I did quite a bit of practice myself, just earlier in the week, and I did notice the lefts were wearing more than the rights. So, and if he, depending, I would assume he took rights. That is kind of what you would traditionally do. But if he took lefts, that would tighten the race car up. So I think he's just going to be really, really incredibly loose. But Vroman's capable, I'd say, of driving a race car like that. So we'll have to wait and see. He's one of the best guys on the service. So I mean, I have a lot of faith that he can make something happen with that kind of a call. A lot of times we see him win races that are unlikely. So I mean, would not be surprised.
Yeah, and I'm really interested on this restart. I think he's definitely going to give a little bit of a call to his Ryko teammates, especially with them starting second and fourth, so that they can get a good jump on Levine, because they're really going to want that outside line coming off of turn 2. So it's really going to be about if Levine can find a hole in between them, even with the call. And he's got to time this restart really, really good, or he's going to have just about no chance. So I'm interested here to see what Levine, what Federico, what Will Cannon do, because we've all seen that they've got really good speed on this short run. They can hang with the Ryko cars, especially for the first 15, 20 laps. I mean, a couple of them could have hung with them for that entire run, even after they moved through the field. So I know there's a couple drivers here in the top 10 that just got brought right back into this race that can do something great. And even further back, I mean, we've got Joshua Gathright, Maggie McGuire, Spence Thompson. I mean, a couple of these guys that got brought back up to the main pack in the 11th to 15th range. If a couple guys up front getting into each other, we could see something like we saw at Atlanta a couple weeks ago, where the entire field wrecks off of turn 4 and the guy in 15th wins the race.
Oh, it's definitely possible. Wholly possible here. As the pace car has taken a left turn down pit road, Nicholas Vroman prepares to enter the Geico restart zone, and the green flag is back out. A little bit of wheel spin, and he is having a little bit of wheel spin. Really close, side-by-side racing for second place. Levine and I do believe Joseph kind of had some contact. Here we go, a big send from Nanny to the inside.
Yeah, Justin Levine was never ever going to get any help on that restart. But honestly, a great move from Daniel Nanny. He's going to get to the inside of his teammate for the lead just about. No, he's going to tuck in. Justin Levine might be able to tuck in for 4th. It looks like that's what he's trying to do, getting back to that outside line. But Daniel Nanny coming from 5th on that restart, now to the back of his teammate for the lead with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, this is not over. I'm surprised at the speed that Roman has had. Oh, contact with the wall. This is going to be a problem. Joseph. And it all breaks loose. Caution is back out on the racetrack. Joseph led a lot of this race and is now probably not going to finish it.
Wow. I couldn't tell if Joseph came up or Daniel Nanny came off the wall. I really don't know what to tell you, but that's heartbreaking. They were leading this race before that caution came out, both of them, and it just looks like, well, Nanny got a little tight coming off the corner and then came off the wall just ever so slightly. You're going to see him get a little loose and then just kind of tug it left, gets into the right rear of Joseph as he has a huge run, and it sparks a big wreck behind him too. Will Cannon, I believe that is, getting into the outside wall. I'm not sure how much right front damage he has, but that ended up being a massive accident.
Yeah, Newman is well involved. I mean, that was a huge accident right there, and definitely be curious to see. I mean, I feel like Joseph just was not giving Nanny a lot of room as well. I feel like both of those drivers were just ultra aggressive, and just unfortunate, because we were just talking about Nanny and how awesome that move was for him, at the restart. Just unfortunate there for a lot of drivers. Like you said, Will Cannon getting some damage. I do believe Chris Wilhite now is our leader.
Yeah, it was definitely all take, no give there. And it actually looks like Daniel Nanny's getting his spot back. Is that what I'm seeing?
What's going on with Broman here? He's actually out of the race car right now.
I'm very
is having
confused.
some issues here. I'm not sure if this is a technical.
Oh, he had a
issue.
packet loss. He just dropped.
Oh,
Nicholas Roman just dropped out of the race.
That is just a heartbreak. He could have easily won this race, and now we'll probably not finish it, as I do believe we're going to have us a green-white checkered here.
I'm so shocked. I mean, this race just got turned on its head. Daniel Nanny somehow got his position back. He's back up to P3. I guess because he never got sideways, but I don't know about that one. But he gets his spot back.
You can see it. You can see he's got damage. It's not crazy amount of damage, but man, that is just. Will Cannon's also right. Back up in 6th. Cannon, I think, got a much harder hit as well.
I'm really interested in this outside line here. The Ryko boys have kind of gotten pieced apart a little bit. If Nanny's really got some right side damage, then that's going to be really difficult for him. But we're going to have Justin Levine and Anthony Federico, who both have really, really fast cars with either their damage completely fixed or no damage. And they're... Honestly, if I were them, I'd have a little bit of a truce here, saying, hey, one of us should win this instead of the Ryko guys. But I'm not too sure. Levine does a good job turning hard left to miss that wreck. But kind of, I don't know. Chris Wilhite inherits the lead after Nicholas Roman, drops connection, and Daniel Nanny somehow gets his 3rd place back. I don't know. There's a lot going on at the end of this race.
We're in a twilight zone here tonight, I tell you. This is, and you said something like that could happen, that could cause, Ryko had a solid, really a solid hold on this, and I don't know if they necessarily have as solid of a hold right now. I mean, I think this could go either way now. It has gotten a lot more of a better chance for a guy like Levine or Federico, and you even said it about, what was it, colleague at Atlanta, how they had a huge chance at a victory, and really you didn't think anybody could take it away from them. Well, I think that's what is happening here tonight in a lot of ways.
Yeah, they're just taking it away from themselves. I mean, obviously, Vroman, that's not his fault, right? He just drops.
No, not at all.
2 Ryko cars getting into each other off of the exit of turn 4. I mean, all you can really blame is yourselves. If you look back, Brad Newman, on the broadcast, it doesn't look like it's as bad, but he's got so much right front damage on my end that the right front tire is not even rolling, but he stayed out. So I don't know if he's got a meatball or not, but he's going to try to work it out towards the end of this green, white checkered here that we're getting. He's going to hope that we don't have multiple. But also, Tyler Marble, great job from him. I saw him spinning through the infield grass about 20, 30 laps ago, and he's up to 7th place. So great job from Tyler as we're about to hit up our first green, white checkered for the end of this race.
That's right, and keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a possibility of having 3 of those. So, of course, we're starting green, white checkered number 1. As Chris Wilhite will lead us to green. And there it is. Green flag is back out in the air for green, white checker number 1. Big moves from Conklin. He takes him 3 wide on the start.
Wow, that's really interesting. I can't believe that the 2 Ryko guys split up like that, because that's just going to give the outside line a great chance. If Federico stays with Justin Levine through the entire corner, they could definitely clear both those Ryko cars for 2nd place down the backstretch. They leave just enough room for Levine, and it's just going to be about Federico giving Levine a good enough push coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, this is still anybody's race. Oh, they get turned. That is Will Cannon getting turned, and that is going to bring the caution out once again, as we're going to have green, white checkered attempt number 2. Wow. Will Cannon just probably very upset. I'm not sure exactly what happened. It happened just so quickly.
There's a little bit of netcode on my end. I mean, Conklin, I don't know. Conklin's kind of coming up the racetrack just a little bit. Cannon's coming down it just a little bit, but the initial contact is definitely a little bit of netcode on my end. But Will Cannon gets the worst of it, and he goes head on into the fence, into the turn 3 wall. I mean, it's at the end of the race. You hate that for Will Cannon. Oh, man, he honestly probably would have been all right.
After that secondary hit.
Yeah, I don't know where Miller Bonds was going. I don't know if I would have ever committed to the outside whenever I see somebody going head on into the outside wall, but I don't know. But unfortunate for Will Campbell. God bless, it's the 2nd time I've said that, Will Cannon. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of drifting down the racetrack trying to make the corner, and Sean's really not trying to get into the corner yet, so I hate to say it, but a little bit of the contact at the beginning was netcode.
More of that on Cannon. I definitely would. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think that Cannon was the one that was moving down the racetrack while Conklin was pretty much holding a straight line.
I'd agree.
And it's a wonder that Federico didn't get tagged, because Federico got incredibly close to getting turned as well right before this.
And it's weird because Conklin is drifting up the entire time to go in side draft before the corner. And as soon as Conklin gets to where he's in a comfortable side drafting position, Cannon kind of drifts to the left. Well, I don't know. I'm looking at his cockpit. Cannon never turns left. So he's got it cranked to the right a little bit for his offset. So I don't know. I really don't know how.
It could be just air or something. There's a lot of variables at play here.
I'm going to blame most of that on netcode, to be honest, especially after seeing Cannon's cockpit, because he did not turn left one bit. But I also don't think Conklin made an egregious move. So I don't know. But hey, Tyler Marble, we were mentioning him on the last restart. He's now up to 6th place behind Levine and Federico on the outside line. That's 3 really, really good cars that are going to be lined up on the outside. And we saw last time the Ryko cars were not very friendly to each other on that restart. I mean, was that Sean Conklin that took him 3 wide off the beginning instead of pushing his teammate?
Did.
I mean, that's shocking on a green, white checkered to give the outside line that kind of advantage. So I'm interested to see if that's something he does again, or if he's going to be a little nicer to his teammate this time.
Yeah, it's definitely a very curious. I mean, like I said, I think that when you get to this point in the race, helping your teammates nice, but a lot of these drivers are going to be thinking that I want the victory myself. This is a big victory. I mean, this is, you want, it's almost having like having your name up in the marquee lights. You know what I mean? I mean, I would want to have my name. Brian Britt wins 5,000 straight the field. I mean, that's awesome. That sounds great.
It's definitely a big, kind of an ego boost, which, I mean, there's enough egos on iRacing anymore, or already. I don't know if I want anybody to win this race if that's the case, but it's definitely a nice little ego boost for whoever wins. But, I think we're coming to 1 to green right here. Looks like the outside line's starting to get formed up. But again, we've got 3 Ryko cars on the bottom. I'm just interested to see, are they going to be more committed to each other this time than they were last time?
Yeah, definitely interesting to see. I'll tell you what, a recovery from Spencer Burns. Got to give that car a lot of credit, or that driver a lot of credit. He was involved in an accident way earlier. Didn't seem like he was going to be in competition here. But now he's up in 7th. Maggie McGuire, haven't talked about that car all night long, essentially. And it's now up in 8th. Jacob Klein Haven't said that name once, I don't believe, and it's up in 9th. I mean, you love to see it.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see just the different drivers we've gotten towards the front of the field towards the end of this. We saw Spencer Burns get in an accident. I already mentioned Tyler Marble. Latoro Lamperti, the butcher, has found his way into the top 10. And he has not been butching anybody. So, credit to him. But Ty Ippolito, too, he started last place in the field, and he's up to 11th place. So, honestly, like I mentioned on the last green-white checkered, we could get something like that Atlanta race a couple weeks ago where everybody just got junked coming off of turn 4. Nobody's going to be given any room on the last lap, right? If we can get to the last lap, nobody's going to be given any room. So, I'm ready to start screaming again. Let's just say that.
100%. Of course, we're going to have to change Lataro's name from the butcher to the clean driver. It just doesn't have as much of a ring to it, though.
Well, you say that, but if he causes the wreck on this restart, then
he's going to be the butcher. That's
yeah. The maybe.
But here we go. Chris Wilhite gets the green flag. Very good restart there for Chris Wilhite on the bottom line. Looks like Ryko definitely was a lot more cooperative. It's the top line, I do believe, is starting to fall back. Sean Conklin's possibly even going to be working his way up into that 3rd spot. Side by side for 3rd is the top 2. Chris Wilhite and Nanny driving away.
Yeah, Justin Levine's getting doored a little bit in the middle of the corner by Conklin. He's going to now get a good push down the backstretch. Both of them actually get a pretty good push on the outside lines, hooked up just a little bit more. It's all going to be about that run that they get off of turn 4, if we can get off of turn 4 without an accident. We can see if maybe the 1 and the 7 can have some type of run down the front stretch. Conklin kind of shuts the door on Anthony Federico. That's a pretty good move from him. It's going to completely kill any chance of Justin Levine getting up to the lead pack. And it might just be a race between the 2 leaders from here on out.
Could very well be. It looks like white flag is out. We are going to finish this thing on the 2nd green-white checkered. They're almost 3 wide right now for 4th place. The battle is on. It's Maggie McGuire's up to 4th. Here comes Nanny to the inside, trying to get to the inside of Wilhite. Levine has caught up here. Maggie McGuire as well. This is not over. Oh, big contact as Justin Levine gets into Nanny, takes him out. And it looks like Wilhite is going to exit turn 4 as our winner.
Great job from Chris Wilhite here. Coming back to win. I mean, he led both on both the restarts there. Good job from Wilhite. Just looked like Justin Levine was not going to lift whenever he got his nose chopped off entering turn 3. Don't know if I necessarily blame him. There was definitely some teammate stuff going on in front of him, but great job from Chris Wilhite winning this race whenever it didn't look like he was maybe the fastest throughout the whole time. It looked like one of his Ryko teammates were going to get it, but he ended up doing a great job towards the end of this run, controlling the race and able to come away with the victory.
Yeah, definitely fantastic job there from Chris Wilhite. As, of course, he's going to celebrate this victory. Get some congratulations there from, I do believe, Nicholas Vroman as well. Here comes Sean, or should I say Lawrence Shaughnessy, coming up to give a little bit of a congratulations bump there. What a great job from Wilhite. Definitely a big win for that driver. It's going to do a lot of good for him and the confidence, and very clean race for him, too.
Yeah, like we mentioned, great victory there for Ryko. They did a great job kind of getting through the wrecks that were at the beginning of this race. We're able to control most of the event, and as we kind of get to our finishing results right here. Taking home the victory, Chris Wilhite. 2nd place, Maggie McGuire. 3rd place, Tyler Marble. Great job recovering from that early spin. 4th place, Sean Conklin. 5th place, Anthony Federico. 6th place, the butcher, Latoro Lamperti. Oh man, I'm going to love that. 7th place, Ty Ippolito. 8th place, Richard Garcia. 9th, Spencer Burns. And 10th, Jake McCline.
11th place, Junior Bubba Rima. 12th place, Justin Levine. 13th, Joshua Gathrank. 14th place, Jeffrey Marble. 15th, Lawrence Shaughnessy. 16th, Joseph. 17th, John Wittendorf. 18th, Alan Pajari. 19th, Daniel Nan. And, of course, rounding out the top 20 is Michael McLean.
21st, we're going to have Nicholas Roman. 22nd, Paul Bergoli. 23rd, Derek Lemke. 24th, Brian Young. 25th, Miller Bonds. 26th, Will Cannon. Heartbreak for him at the end as he got caught up in that late green-white checkered accident. 27th, Brad Newman. 28th, Spence Thompson. 29th, Edward Scherer Jr. And 30th, Joshua Watson.
Brooks Durding, 31st. Brian Smith, 32nd. 33rd, Keith Bridgman. 34th, Johnny Baldridge, and 35th, Brandon Bikey. That rounds out our 35 car field. What a race it was here tonight. Let's see, are we going to have anybody to talk to? I might have Wilhite. Now, I do believe we do have Chris Wilhite going to be joining us. Chris Wilhite, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us after that big win. I mean, man, what a race. That thing was high intensity. I bet your heart was pounding there at the end trying to hold on to that one.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Yeah, a great race, exciting race. It's close racing here, kind of pack racing. We actually spread out tonight a lot more than we have earlier in the week, and got some green flag runs in there. And then all heck broke loose towards the end. Had to survive a couple restarts, but that starting P1 on that restart's a big advantage. So we just took advantage of it.
Yeah, 100%. And it seemed like the restarts were quite important. What do you think the biggest thing out there tonight was that kind of led to this victory? What did you prioritize?
Yeah, so a lot of the night we were kind of riding. You're right. Restarts were big, right? So that's your chance to make your move, get some track position. Once we saw this had kind of a green flag feel to it, just kind of riding around. I'm spending a lot of the night around 5th, 6th, kind of there, just kind of keeping the tires on it, make sure we didn't burn up our stuff, and protecting that high side. That was really key on the long runs. That's why I gave it up Justin there once earlier when I was running 3rd, and kind of dropped back to 5th because he got to my right rear. So that's really the main thing you're kind of thinking through. You got to keep in that draft and protect your right rear from that side draft.
Definitely was very difficult for sure to kind of defend against passes there, but you definitely were able to do that. Of course, Levine was able to kind of take advantage of you that one time, but it didn't seem like it affected the results here. You got you a big win. I mean, 5,000 plus strength of field. I mean, how much does this mean to you to get this victory?
Yeah, this is huge, guys. So we were the Atlanta race was one of your early races, right? And we were leading that race in turn 4, and we got wadded up, and that would have been one of my bigger wins. So really been fighting hard to get one on Friday night since then. And we're we may be 3rd in the championship right now after tonight, and really kind of fighting it out with those guys in the top 5, some great drivers. So yeah, this will be a huge point tonight for us.
That it will. Now, of course, next week we're going to be heading to a very, very tricky track, pretty much the exact opposite of a Michigan-type race, the Indianapolis road course. Do we expect to see you in competition there?
Yeah, so I'll be there. I'm not sure if I will quite be fighting for the win. I do love this car and road courses. I'm definitely not a road course ace by any means, but we'll be there hashing it out. The Indy road course is a lot of fun since iRacing rescanned it last year, and the new layout is a lot more racy. So hopefully we can put on a good show for you guys.
We definitely look forward to that show for sure, Chris. Congratulations on the big win, and definitely who you want to shout out after that's a big win tonight?
Yeah, a few things. Appreciate it, guys. So thanks for GridVision for broadcasting. I'll be watching it back tomorrow. Highside Motorsports, Lawrence, Alan, Matt, Luke, all those guys. Appreciate you guys. Ryko Motorsports, that's the setup underneath the hood, and we would not be here without Ryko Motorsports. Bumper Thumper Traction Compounds, and RTD Race Tools. Thanks guys, and I appreciate it.
All right, Chris. Well, thanks for your time, man. Congratulations. It was a pleasure to chat with you here. We'll see you next week, hopefully at Indianapolis Road, brother.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Austin.
Alrighty, that was Chris Wilhite. Definitely a fantastic performance there for sure. I've seen him race a lot, Austin, but have never actually gotten to speak with him. And very nice guy. Definitely glad we were able to talk to him for sure. And wish we could have talked to Maggie McGuire and Tyler Marble. If they are listening, next time, make sure that you join the GridVision Discord so we can actually speak with you. And of course, with that, Austin, any final thoughts here on tonight's race?
Well, it was good to get to hear from our race winner there, Chris Wilhite. He ran a good, clean race. I've ran a lot of races with him in the past, and I don't think I've ever had an issue with him personally. So good to see somebody that's normally pretty clean, pretty fast, get a really nice deserved win on a Friday night NIS race. You know, like you mentioned, 5,500 SOF, I believe, and you know that's some pretty big bragging rights that Chris can go and spread around for the next week or so.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely looking forward to seeing what that looks like. I think that's going to be next week at Indianapolis is going to be an opportunity for a lot of other drivers to really show their skill here. Road course ringers, if you will, going to be the name of the game there next week. Let's take a look at the remainder of the, of course, well, we already know what this Sunday is going to have, but let's take a look at next week's schedule. And, of course, that will be started with Champion Power Equipment Truck Series racing at Kansas Motor Speedway, or should I say Speedway, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, Wednesday is going to be Thunderclap action at Darlington Raceway, as they are in, I do believe, the round of 8, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, Friday, we're going to be back in NIS competition at Indianapolis Road Course, as we have mentioned before. And, of course, wrapping it up on Sunday is the Global Racing Truck Series at IRP. Of course, that is a very short track, well, very interesting short track as well, unique. But definitely, we appreciate everybody out there tuning in. Make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Make sure you tune in every week. We always have something going on usually, but definitely, if you're looking for maybe to have your race broadcast, reach out to us. My name has been, I've been Brian Britt. Of course, I do want to give a shout out to Austin Edstrom for calling the race here with me tonight. Austin Derbyshire for doing an awesome job down behind the cameras. All the ownership here at GridVision and everybody that makes this possible. We'll see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great night.